So my next main topic is politics. To introduce my next topic of politics, I want to talk about different Olympic events. These large-scale international events involve lots of organisation which usually links to politics. An example of this is when boycotting took place in the 2008 Olympics, which were held in Russia. There were concerns over the infrastructure and politics of Russia, but at the time it was also struggling with its human rights. To try and even out the abuse that Russia was receiving over these statements and problems, they boycotted their Olympics to make sure that their country seemed perfect, so no one could have a negative opinion about it. They used lip-syncing strategies to make their reporters look faultless, and they also used fake singers so that their vocals seemed perfect as well. They wanted to fool people into believing that their country didn't have any faults or negative impurities during the time they were hosting it. So my first little topic is hosting an international event. So this is a positive for a country because it can allow them to develop a better economic standing, which helps with the financial revenue. A country can get more money from ticket prices and accommodation fees due to tourists coming to watch football matches being played in certain areas, countries, and places around the world. This helps them to develop cities within and around the hosting country. For example, more houses for residents are available to live in after the matches have taken place. By this I mean that people living in the city or looking to move to the city are able to live in the accommodation that maybe the footballers lived in whilst they were taking part in the Championship League, whatever the country was hosting. For example, in Russia, 2018, they hosted the World Cup, but this could be seen as an advantage for the country because it did help them when they were struggling economically. Money from tourism, including accommodation, food and travel, and then also ticket prices to go into the matches, allowed Russia to develop as they had been struggling with economic differences during conflict with eastern Ukraine. This began when they were being nominated to host the World Cup. Because of this conflict, the USA placed economic sanctions on Russia, which is linked to politics, but this is a negative effect. Because from this they struggled economically because they had lots of money to pay off to the USA because of these almost fines. This shows that although hosting the World Cup in the long run probably has helped Russia, it also has brought negatives beforehand the event. It did lead to countries questioning whether Russia was ready to host an international event, and they didn't even have the right funds to support the footballers. And this really does show how much control the government and football associations have on a country's political representation, as they did influence lots of different countries' views on Russia just over one event. So the next thing is Trump in the White House. I think politics has negative effects with visiting like your state leader and things, because an example of this is like when American soccer star Megan Rapinoe refused to visit Donald Trump at the White House if the USA were to win the World Cup. Trump was very opinionated on this matter, saying to the media that Mr. Rapinoe should never disrespect our country, the White House or our flag, suggesting he was quite frustrated that she didn't end up going to see him. I think this shows why sport and politics shouldn't get involved, like, as a link, because she was reported to have said that she's now been judged on not going. However, it's an individual's choice on whether or not they want to be involved in politics or not. This event in the media shows politics doesn't always have a good effect on things, as long as it can create an atmosphere between leaders of countries and those who are deciding to play for it and represent it. I also think that politics plays a large part in sport because sometimes it can drive countries to divide. It affects how different areas see each other because people have different political views. For example, in Spain, they had a referendum for the independence of different areas in Spain, and this involved politics, police and citizens. However, on this day, Barcelona and Real Madrid were due to play a match. However, Barcelona chose to close their stadium to the public in response to accusations that had been made regarding alleged use of brutality against their citizens of Barcelona. This shows that politics does affect sport, because an important match between two teams is cancelled, even after the club had requested for the match to be postponed by the government, but they didn't allow it, so they didn't play the match at all in the end. I think this issue also links to Real Madrid's rivalry with Barcelona. This rivalry started in 1920 because Real Madrid were granted the beginning of their name, which is real, by the king, in Spain it means royal. This created a political divide between the two teams, as Real Madrid would always see themselves to have royal standards as they got granted this name. This means they didn't wish to be caught up in the politics of other regions of Spain, because they don't see themselves as being politically and culturally equal to them. They see themselves as being different and privileged, showing politics divides sport and doesn't always bring people together. So next, I think that the control of personal choices is quite a major factor between linking politics and sport together, because football players and managers are usually quite affected by politics because they can't give a personal choice to something. For example, they are forbidden to show any support to anything linked with political, religious or personal slogans, statements or images. This affects people such as managers of football teams and players on the pitch. This could be seen as a negative or positive thing because it stops abuse on certain people if their messages are religious, and if that may impact somebody. However, it could also be seen as a positive thing as it provides support to different events or situations taking place across the world. For example, Guardiola is a manager of a football team and tried to wear a yellow ribbon to support Catalan activists. However, he was fined £20,000 by FA, which is a football association who are the governing body of football. This can frustrate managers because it is their choice on what they want to support, but politics is sometimes so involved in sport that managers and players wishing to present these messages are closely controlled by strict rules which do affect different people in different ways.